everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kendra and today I'm going to be doing my January book haul. I have quite a few books to go through because I have the books that I got this month, books I got for Christmas, and then also it's a cumulative book haul from all the books that I got from my last book haul, which I think was like, gosh, I don't know, July, August, something like that. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I'm going to go through all of my book of the month selections that I picked for this month. The first one is The Push by Ashley Aldrain. This is an adult thriller and it's about a woman. She has a newborn baby, but she doesn't really have that connection with her baby and she thinks there's something wrong. Her husband doesn't think there's anything wrong with her, so this just sounds like it's going to be really good, and I've seen amazing things about this one, so I'm super excited to read this one. The next one is The Dating Plan by Sarah Dasani, and this is about a woman. She doesn't really have time for dating, and her family really wants her to get married, so she fakes a fiance with her childhood crush, and it is their romance. So this one sounds really good. The next one is a finalist with Book of the Month, and we got to pick one of those books. I had all the other ones except this one. It is Anxious People by Frederick Bachman, and this one is about a crime that never took place, a bank robber that disappeared into thin air, and 8 anxious people. So it obviously was a finalist. Most people like, or it was a really well-liked book, so I'm really excited to see what the hype is. And this next one is Mama Lee Ellen's book club book pick for January. I'm in her book club, so the book gets sent to me, and this one is The Removed by Brandon Hobson, and this one is about a Cherokee boy. He ends up getting shot by a police officer when he's 15, and every year after, their family puts on an annual bonfire, and it's also the same day as a Cherokee national holiday. So you're just following their family. I'm about halfway through this one, really liking it, so I will definitely let you know my thoughts on it in my January wrap up. These next couple books I received from my friends for Christmas. The first one is Layla by Colleen Hoover. I received this one from Shelby at Shelby Taggart Reads. This is a paranormal thriller, which is different from Colleen's other books. She usually writes romance books, but this one, I have read it already, and this is about Layla and Leeds. They meet at a bed and breakfast, and then something tragic happens to them. They end up going back to the bed and breakfast to reconnect their relationship, and bizarre things start happening to Layla. I'll give you my final thoughts on this one in my wrap up for January. The next one I received from Nicole at the Girly Girl Bookworm, and it is The Perfect Marriage by Genevieve Rose. And the back of this one says, "Would you defend your husband if he was accused of killing his mistress?" She absolutely loved this one, so I'm super excited to read it. The next one is A Bend in the Stars by Rachel Barbaram, and this is a historical fiction set in Russia in 1914, and you're following a woman who is the first Russian surgeon, so that just sounds super fascinating, and I'm really excited to read this one. The next one is Stranger in the Lake by Kimberly Bell, and this is about a woman. She ends up finding another woman's body, the exact same place as her husband's ex-wife who was tragically drowned. So this one just sounds really interesting, and I have read another book by this author, really loved it, so I'm really excited to pick this one up. The next one is The German Heiress by Annika Scott. This is another historical fiction set during World War II, and all I know is that you're following a German heiress, so I'm really excited to read this one as well. The next one is In Light of the Summit by Jamie McGillan. This is the second book in the Mount Rainier series. I have read the first book, which is In Light of the Mountain. You're just following a woman named Anna, and she wants to be the first woman to climb Mount Rainier. And it's her story. It was really good, and I'm really excited to read the sequel. The next one is This Time Next Year by Sophie Cusins, and this is about Quinn and Minnie. They are born on the exact same day on New Year's Day and at the same hospital pretty much the same time, and then on their 30th birthday they end up bumping into each other, and I believe it's like their romance. I did read about, I don't know, 40% of this book and I haven't finished it yet. It was okay, so I don't know. I may finish it, I may not. It wasn't really gripping me, so, but I do have this one. Maybe next New Year's I can read this one, but yeah, so I have this one. The next one I have is Pretty Little Wife by Darby Kane, and this one, it says, shouldn't a dead husband stay dead? Very, very intrigued in reading this one. This was one of my book month selections from a previous month. The next one is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, and this is a fantasy, but it is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, so I was very intrigued, plus I really love this cover. This next one is The Forgotten Daughter by Joanna Goodman. This is another historical fiction, and this one is set in Quebec, Canada. I haven't really read that many Canadian historical fiction books, so I'm really intrigued in reading this one. The next one is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This I have seen everywhere and I've heard amazing things about it, and the only thing I really know is about a library. I think it's like a fantastical type of library with like magical realism elements in this, so I'm super excited to read this one. The next one is The Return by Nicholas Sparks. This is about a injured Navy doctor, and that's really all I know about it. Obviously there's probably going to be a romance, so I'm super excited to read this one. The next one is Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Miskowsko, and this is a YA fantasy, and it's about two sisters and one gets brutally murdered, and I believe there's witches in this book, so anything that deals with witches I'm really intrigued by, so I'm really excited to read this one. The next one I have is The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow, and again another witch fantasy book that I am super excited to get to. The next book I'm going to talk about is You Had Me at Ola by Alexis Daria. I won this one on Instagram from Mama Lee Ellen's Book Nook. She does tons of giveaways on Instagram, so I highly recommend checking her out. And plus, all of her content is amazing. But this is about a couple. They both work in television and they end up becoming co-stars, and I believe it's their romance, and Lee Ellen told me that this one is super spicy, so I'm really excited to get to this one. The next one I have is The Coppersmith Farmhouse by Devney Perry, and this is a small town romance, and it's about this woman. She doesn't expect to like the town sheriff, and he is an actual jerk, but she is attracted to him, and it's their romance. I'm really excited to read this one. This next one is a series that I keep seeing everywhere, and it is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. All I know about this one is that it is a fantasy romance, and I cannot wait to read this one. And then I also have the sequel, which is Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. So both of these covers are really pretty too. The next one I have is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. Again, another witching book. I think you're seeing a trend here. I was into witch books apparently, so this is another fantasy witch book. Super excited to read. The next book I have is Fable by Adrienne Young. This is a YA fantasy, and the only thing I know about it, it says it's welcome to the world made dangerous by the sea and by those who wish to profit from it, where a young girl must find her place in her family while trying to survive in a world built for men. I've seen this one everywhere as well, and it sounds amazing. The next one I have is Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth, and this is, I believe it's like a historical fiction set in the early 1900s, and you are following a group of girls in a boarding school. I love books about boarding schools, so I'm super interested in reading this one. The next one I have is Stain by A.G. Howard. First of all, this cover is gorgeous, but this is a YA fantasy, and it says after Lyra, a princess incapable of speech or sound, is cast out of her kingdom of daylight by her wicked aunt, a witch saves her life, steals her memories, and raises her in an enchanted forest, disguised as a boy known only as Stain. So this one sounds amazing. The next book I have is White Ivy by Susie Yang. This is about Ivy. She is a thief and a liar, but by looking at her, you would have no idea. So this one sounds really, really interesting. The next one is Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. This is about neighbors and they have a summer fling. I really like Colleen Hoover's romance books, so I'm really excited to read this one. The next one is On the Way to You by Candy Steiner. I absolutely love Candy Steiner. I have not read this one yet, but this is about strangers. They go on a road trip together and it's the romance, so really excited to read this one. The next one I have is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I've seen this one everywhere. Everyone keeps telling me to read this one. This is a historical fiction and it has either magical realism or a fantasy element in it, and I am so excited to read this one. The next book I have is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, and this is about a dark sorceress who is destined to rewrite the rules of magic. So this one definitely sounds really, really interesting, and I'm really excited that I have this one. The next one is Her Last Flight by Patrice Williams. This is a historical fiction and it's about a woman. She's a photographer and she goes to Hawaii to research about a lost pilot. So this one sounds really, really good. The next one I have is The Wrong Family by Taryn Fisher. This is an adult thriller and it's about a woman. She moves in with this couple. They seem to be the perfect couple, the perfect marriage, the perfect life, but they definitely have some secrets. So really excited to read this one. I loved The Wives by Taryn Fisher, so I know I'll probably love this one as well. The next one I have is Truce I Never Told You by Kelly Rimmer. This is about a woman. Her father is put into a care facility because he has dementia, and then she goes to his house to clean it up and she finds a room that is padlocked. And then she goes in there and she ends up finding a journal from her late mother, and there are some secrets in that journal that she discovers. So really excited to read this one. The next one I have is This Close to Okay by Lisa Cross Smith, and this one says it's about a life-changing weekend shared between strangers. So this one just sounds really good and I'm excited to read this one. The next one I have is The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. Really excited to read this one. This is an adult thriller and it deals with a love triangle, so super excited to get to this one. The next one I have is The Chestnut Man by Soren Silvestertrope. I'm sure I pronounced that totally wrong, but this is about a psychopath in Copenhagen. I've seen this one around so much. I finally ended up picking it as one of my both month selections probably over the summer, and yeah, super excited to finally have this one and read it. The next one is The Lions of Fifth Avenue by Fiona Davis. I have read this one. I really, really enjoyed it. This is about the New York Public Library and there are book thieves, and you're just basically like a mystery figuring out who the book thieves are. Like I said, this one was really good and I recommend picking this one up. The next one I have is In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. I read this one in December. I wasn't a huge fan of it. It's about a family. They go to the same cabin every year for Christmas. The woman that you're following, she has a crush on one of the guys that goes there every year. There's like a time travel element in this one that I didn't really care for, but there's this one I got as well. The next one I have is Transcendent Kingdom by Yazi, and this is a book about a family of immigrants ravaged by depression and addiction and grief. It It's a novel about faith, science, religion, and love, and the main character is a PhD candidate for neuroscience, so that just sounds super fascinating, and I'm really excited to read this one. And the last book I have is The Last Story of Mina Lee by Nancy Yohong Kim, and this is about a immigrant family, and it is a mother-daughter relationship that you are following. So really excited to read this one as well. So those are all of the books that I've gotten in the last few months. Let me know in the comments if you've read these books, what you thought about them, and also let me know what books you've received lately. And until then, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!